Hey everyone, so in this video I am going to be doing our first project, which is going to be a cat girl of any character that you want. You can draw whatever character that you want, of course, and this is just going to be me going through the illustration process and you guys following along. So if you want, you can design your own characters but use the same process as I have. I'm doing thumbnails first because that is usually the first thing to do. So why thumbnails? So if you guys looked at my previous courses, or if any of you guys have come from my previous courses, you know that I always do thumbnails. And the reason why we do thumbnails is because, one, it's your preparatory phase, and two, it'll help you with your illustration in the long run. So a lot of the mistakes that I see, and myself included, I made these mistakes too, is that a lot of people try to make the illustration perfect right at the first try. That's not going to happen. You need at least 5 or more times. For a beginner, you might need a little bit more. I usually like to go with 3 because that's a good number to start with. So, for instance, if you start an illustration just right off the bat, you're starting with a blank page, and that's not the best thing when it comes to making your illustration because you're limiting yourself to just one option. So. And then you're also banking on the fact that it'll be perfect. So that is not the way to go. You want to make sure that you have a good amount of options to try, because in the end, all you really want to do is make the best illustration that you can with your skill, right? So why would you bother with just going all out on one and then miss out on the other opportunities that could actually make the illustration better? So that's why we start with thumbnails, and it could just be any kind of idea that we want. So we're just really brainstorming at this stage. So these are some kind of things that I do when it comes to brainstorming. I like to write out what the character is going to be. Of course, I usually like to design the character first and then just draw the illustration afterwards. But since I want to make this a little bit more condensed, I'm actually going to be making a character on the fly. With the kind of an idea in mind. Of course, I will also tell you guys to draw some reference, collect some reference of the kinds of images that you want, what kind of style that you want, what kind of dress style you want. In fact, if you have my other courses, feel free to look at those reference gathering videos to get the idea of how to collect reference. So I will leave that up to you guys. If you want to collect your own reference, do so. In this case, I'm actually going to create this character straight out of imagination with my visual library. So, and also just with maybe some wording as well. So I'm going to make some notes on what I want this cat girl to look like, or kind of feel like. I want this to look cutesy, but not too cutesy. It's almost kind of like I would say kind of gothic cutesy. So she's kind of has a more kind of darker vibe, kind of similar to like Blair from Soul Eater. She has that kind of like witchy but cat vibe, and I kind of like that, so I kind of want to go with that, and I may even change this later on. So maybe I can make 3 kinds of iterations and kind of choose what I want. So I want a cutesy, I kind of want a gothic, just draw out whatever. I would say make a list of 10, like 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10. And then just list off any kind of thing that you want, right? I want this to be I don't want it to be sexy, so it's more of a cutesy thing, but I do want it to be quite colorful. I don't want it to be too subdued or too like gloomy in color, so I want it to be quite saturated. Let's see. Maybe let's give her some... I always kind of imagine her with long hair, so I'm just going to write down long hair and then experiment with those. In terms of outfit, I want it to be kind of like, obviously feline-like, but maybe a feline with cat with bat features, maybe kind of like almost like maybe like a little Halloween style kind of character, maybe. This could be a maybe. I don't want it to be. I want there to be some other things. So let me think. This is just kind of like my brainstorming moments. I want this to be kind of like I don't want this to be a portrait. I want this to kind of be like a nice dynamic pose. So I'm going to put dynamic pose for now. And this is a just kind of like a mind map of where you want your illustration to be like. Let's see. In terms of background, well, I'm not going to make I'm probably going to make a simple background. So it could be like a patterned background or the like. So I think I'm just going to, oh, actually, let me just go up to 10. Let me see, what else could I put in? I think I'll just go with these for now, and maybe if I want to add some other ideas later, I can. So this is going to be a cat girl with a kind of cutesy vibe, with a little bit of a gothic Halloween vibe, that's colorful, who has long hair. She has cat and bat-like features. She's in a dynamic pose, and the background is going to be simple. So because this is a simple background, she's going to be more character-focused. So when it comes to illustrations, character-focused illustrations are means simple background. However, if you want to show the environment, then that means the character has to be more subdued. So just know that I'm going to be doing mostly character-based illustrations. So these will be more the character in the center taking most of the screen and the like. So let's just start off with a cute pose here. So this is kind of just going off of my head. I'm thinking maybe like this, and also go very rough with this. So I'm thinking maybe she's kind of facing up this way. Maybe her pose is kind of like more sideways. She's kind of like maybe hopping in the air, maybe. We have our little cat ears. And of course, this can go off the page as well. So I kind of want this kind of Halloween-esque feel. So I want kind of like a curly kind of very flirty style of hair. So it's going to be more like curling upwards. Maybe she has her little paws here. And this is just obviously very, very rough. With her little claws, maybe. And what I mean by dynamic, I mean she's kind of like moving, or she's kind of like, she's not just standing there. So maybe her arm is in front. Maybe her leg is kicked up a little bit. And maybe she has some boots on or something. Maybe she can have kind of like so she's just going to have a little bit of bat features. Let's give her a little bat-like dress. So kind of maybe have like a bat insignia on the top, or on the top of her dress. And let's give her a kind of like a fluffy dress at the bottom. So it's kind of like cat-like. So there's a little bit of fluff. And then there's a dress at the bottom here. So there's going to be a fluff around her dress. So it kind of gives a bat and cat-like feature. And then let's give her a corset kind of like feel around these sides here. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, if it were me doing this properly, or more like slowly, I would first come up with a character design for her. But because I'm kind of going through this on the fly here, I'm kind of making a character up. So this is one option, a very character-centered, kind of dynamic, kind of cutesy. So that's one option. That's option number 1. But I feel like I can do better than this. So that's why I go on number 2. This would be thumbnail number 2. Maybe in this one, she's kind of like in like a pouncing pose. So maybe she's facing you or facing us. Maybe with an open mouth. Let's give her some ears. And if you want, you can look up some reference for this. I'm kind of going off of my memory here. So usually when it comes to this kind of pose, you would see her chest area a little bit more downward. because she's kind of leaping towards you, right? Maybe she's chasing something even. She would have a kind of hair flowing towards the back. Maybe her hand would kind of be raised, and then maybe her other arm would kind of be towards the back. And then maybe her leg would kind of be towards the side here, so we can sort of see where she's moving, her leg. And maybe the other leg can go on the other side and then kind of bend back here. So we kind of see this as like an action kind of pose. Now, I don't like this one as much, but, you know, we're going to try it out. So we're going to give her a skirt. And this could also change as we line this or refine it even more. So this is idea number 2, which is okay, but it's not like my favorite compared to this one. Now for my third one here, this is probably going to be my final before I refine and choose the one I like. I also just do 3s just because it's quicker, and it just helps me decide faster. You can do as many as you want. You can, you know, I would say if you're still not satisfied with, like, I don't know, 10 thumbnails, just pick one and just roll with it. Pick one that has the most charisma in all these poses here. So maybe this one will kind of be more of a static pose. So maybe she is kind of like, maybe she's kind of sitting down and maybe, you know, kind of like being kind of cat-like. So maybe she has her arm down here. And then maybe she has her other hand here, kind of like reaching towards her face, kind of like waving at you maybe. She has her chest up a little bit. Let's give her a little design change here. Let's give her a little armband around her claws or her paws here. And let's give her some kind of wild bangs here. Which I actually like this a lot, actually. I like this. And maybe her hands down. And of course, don't be afraid to go out of the canvas. We can always increase the canvas later. Let's give her some nice hair from the back. And let's give her some wings because she's kind of bat-like. Cat and bat, of course. And let's give her some fur on the side here with a little bit of a corset here. So if you want to make a more daring kind of style character or more sexy kind of character, try to tone it down a little bit. Of course, you can do whatever you want, but I usually like to, if I want to make a sexy character or a you know, a character that has a little bit, that shows a little bit more, I still like to make it kind of subdued. I don't want to make it all the way, you know, top notch, like, you know, showing everything. I want to kind of make it kind of more classy. I like classy kind of seductive, not necessarily all out, you know, because that's just not my style. So I'm kind of going for more of a classier look, but still kind of like a seductive look because she's kind of cat-like, right? So let's give her kind of like a more more kind of tighter dress maybe, that's kind of hanging around her legs here. And then we can kind of put her legs here, where it's kind of like bending. Maybe she's kind of kneeling. And then we have her legs probably towards the back here. So that's just another possibility, which I actually like this one a lot. So I'm actually going to choose this. I like the look of this just because it kind of just feels more full and just more, I think it captures her cuteness a lot. So I'm going to go with this thumbnail and then I will refine this later. So that is it for this video. Let me know what you guys think and hope you guys learned something, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.